In today's video, I want to share with you about the Kickstarter campaign, Darkshire 2 from DecoQuest. But before we get into today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to all of my lovely Patreon supporters. I love you all so much. You make this channel what it is, and I just want to express my appreciation and gratitude for you. And I want to share this past month's GGGGs. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this past month of May of 2025, Walker S. is receiving a pledge for the recent Talisman Saber Hex Terrain Kickstarter. And North is getting $100 towards the Kolinsky Brushes Kickstarter that's going on right now. Go ahead and use the link below to go to my Patreon page where you can get in on this month's gratitude gifts and get a chance of being chosen by Bob for one of them. We're going to be populating the list as the month goes along. And for this month of June of 2025, there will be a pledge for one of my lucky Patreon supporters for this Kickstarter. It only takes $1 to be a Patreon supporter and enables you to have a chance at receiving one of these gifts. So if you haven't seen my video where I showcased Darkshire First Edition, where I printed and painted up all of the terrain from that awesome set, go ahead and check it out, especially since in that video I do a whole painting tutorial about how I painted up using this color theme. And I use the exact same method for this one of the buildings from Darkshire 2 Kickstarter. And the only difference that I did with the paint is that instead of brushing on the undercoating with various different colors, I actually used spray paint from a rattle can and just spray painted various parts of it different colors. Now, I don't think it turned out quite as nice as when I brushed it on from the original Darkshire 1 set, but I think it actually saved me a lot of time, and I will just adjust in the future with some different colors that might show up a little bit better. But everything else I printed out at 0.2 millimeter height, which is my go-to height for terrain. And I think, again, this looks fantastic and obviously fits in with the theme of the original Darkshire campaign. Now, this time around, there aren't as many files, and because of that, the campaign pledge is going to be cheaper. But if you missed out on the first Darkshire 1, you are able to get a bundle of both Darkshire 1 and 2 in this Kickstarter campaign. Now, by the time I post this video, hopefully the campaign will already have launched, and I will do a quick walkthrough of the preview page, but it will be going live, and so hopefully there won't be a lot of changes, but just a word of caution that whatever I show you is prototype and the final results might be a little bit different. And here, I didn't print out the bases, the squares that I did in the original campaign, just because I am running out of space in storing all of my 3D prints. So I just decided to print out the building here. And even in just choosing to print out the building without the base, it is still a lot. I think I used about 2 spools of PLA to print out this awesome building. So just keep that in mind, that it does take quite a bit of filament if you're going to be printing it out. And I even reduced my infill to 5% in order to save a little bit on filament. But all of Matthew's files are support free. They print pretty much flawlessly. I've really never had any printing issues with this file. So that has been the case. I printed all of this relatively without any problems or issues. But there is one thing, as always with DecoQuest, I always have to simplify the model once I import the STL into my slicer, just because there's way more detail than what is necessary for printing out. So by using the simplify model default settings in my bamboo slicer, it just reduces the amount of print time because it isn't so detailed. So just keep that in mind. That's the only adjustment that I've needed to make. But as always, I think these files print flawlessly. The other thing too is, even though you can go into the inside, I typically don't actually ever utilize the inside of buildings, as I am primarily doing wargaming and we use only the external parts. But Definitely there's enough detail on the insides, and in fact, there is a number of, just like in the first iteration of Darkshire, a number of torches where you can put in LED lights by using those CR2032 coin batteries. So that can work for you. I haven't installed any here, but overall, as always, a ton of detail, ton of opportunities to do RPGs if you want to do that internally. But for the most part, I think this has that sort of Gothic look. And like I mentioned before with Darkshire 1, the reason why I printed out so many pieces is I want it to be sort of the backdrop or the background for my undead army, my vampiric undead army for one-page rules, and that's why I keep printing out this terrain. But let's go ahead and go over to the computer and I can walk you through at least the preview of the Kickstarter page. So go ahead and use the link to go to the Kickstarter page, and because this is a preview, make sure to just go ahead and remind so that you are signed up once it does go live. But by the time you see this video, it probably will be live anyway, so just use the link to go to the page. So let's go ahead and check it out. Not super complicated. There's basically an early bird that is going to be 15 euros for all of the files for this campaign. I think 15 euros is about 17, 18 USD. And it's going to be limited to the first 100 pledges. And then there is the regular price that's going to be 18 euros, which is going to be more like $20. So relatively cheap just to be able to print out all the files in this campaign. And then the bundled price, the early bird price, is 68 euros, which is I think about 77 or 78 USD. And then later on, that's going to increase to 75 euros. So as soon as you know that you want this, go ahead and pledge. And then this is the model that I printed out. And of course, I did not print out the base, so that is optional. And then you can see where the lights are for the optional lamps that you can put in there. I did not print out any of the doors, but you can obviously print out doors and slide them in there. And one of the things that is distinct about Matthew's files is that these houses are pretty big and chunky. So you can see here's a 28 or 32 millimeter miniature represented by this red miniature. So look how big and chunky this thing is. So just keep that in mind. If you want it to be smaller, you can scale it down if you desire, but I printed everything at 100%. And then this is the other building. And then you have model number 3, which is more like it's not really a bridge, but it's a gateway, I guess. That's how you can describe it. And then finally, model number 4 looks a little bit more like scatter terrain, where this is a well, and then there is a tree option here. And I'm assuming that all of the scatter terrain is going to be available to print out separately. I don't think it's integrated into the floors, but I might be wrong about that. Looks like he's going to be providing a video on how to insert the coin battery in order to light up the LEDs. So yeah, here he says the CR2032, which is the one that I do. And then here's the spot for this video. So that's pretty much it. It's not super complicated. There's a couple of add-ons from previous campaigns. And I've done a number of review videos for most of these. If you really like the aesthetic and style, I suggest the Strongberg and picking that up just because you're gonna be able to match it somewhat with this current campaign. But there is a ton of different options, and I've always had a lot of ease in terms of printing out all of these files. So there you have it. Hopefully this video is helpful for you. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I would appreciate it a lot. And use a link to go to my Patreon page if you are interested in the possibility of being chosen by Bob at the end of this month to receive a pledge for this campaign. Also, use the link if you want to just go ahead and pledge. Feel free to do so. I think the campaign is only going to be running for 2 weeks, so make sure to jump on that before it expires. Otherwise, happy printing, happy gaming. We'll see you next time.